I think we're live. I don't know. Technology. That makes it go back to. It's gonna be delayed.
Oh,
there we are. I'm so bad at these cameras and going live, so I apologize. Hopefully the sound is working now and everything is right. Okay, this is so awkward. I hate making it live.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable.
Okay, looks like they can see us according to the chat.
Editing is so much easier because I can take all of that out that just happened. Okay, so we are here on our channel. Whenever he's on with me, it's our channel. Whenever it's just me, it echoes in here in your room.
Sorry, people.
Oh, there's the... Okay, we're still trying to figure this out. I'm sorry. So, behind the camera, because this is his office, this isn't my sewing space. Obviously, I'm sure you guys recognize that I'm in a different space. But he has a TV behind the camera, so we tried to see if we could set up the, like the chat so we could see what's happening in the chat and not be looking in other places. So it finally updated with what we were doing.
Yes, and welcome to my office. This is where I do pretty much all of my work. Although I guess work is probably pretty loose, given that I have a 60-inch TV in my office that I use to watch movies while I work.
No, you work really hard. You work really hard. He's like me though, where he has to have something in the background. Like when I'm upstairs sewing, I have the TV or something on too, or I'm listening to a podcast. So yeah.
Yes, and yes, Sylvia, I do have a Pac-Man arcade game in my office for those times where I need to clear my mind of whatever is going on.
Yeah, they're all talking about your game. Okay, so into the questions. I'm going to see, I tried to set this all up, all fancy, because that's just who I am, where I have all the questions that should overlay at the bottom of the screen so you know what we're answering, but I don't know for sure if it'll work. It looks like it's not going to, because that won't scroll, and I don't know why it won't show the whole question. So anyways, what some people wanted to know was what your actual name is, because you changed it to...
the first husband of Quilting.
Yeah, so now it doesn't... Yeah, so that looks bad. So it doesn't scroll through it, so I'm going to take that off.
Okay.
So we're just not going to be able to use that, unfortunately. But
So I have many names that people call me. I think the legal name is probably what you want to know.
Your new one, though. Okay, sorry.
So, my name is Matthew. But first husband of Quilting works well. But yeah, I get called many things. Most of them have 4 letters, and most of them are by the opposing counsel. But
that's just because you're so good at your job, they get frustrated.
So yes, that's my name. Let's see.
Did you say Matthew?
I think I said Matthew.
Did you
yes,
say
Matthew?
I was just thinking, so I'm horrible at gift giving, like absolutely horrible at it. He beats me he beats me at giving better gifts every year for Christmas. And this year, you still did, but I did get him a gift where if you buy like the tiniest little plot of land in Scotland, you get to refer to yourself as Lord. So I got him that, and it's like, what is it, like a certificate or something?
Yeah, so I technically
framed.
have a certificate of lordship from some council in Scotland that is a landowner in Scotland. But I am I'm chill, so you can just call me Matthew. Lord Matthew if you really want to. Or, as Sean has suggested, FHOQ, or FHOC, maybe? I like Hawks, that could work.
So yesterday it was so funny because all day our son was calling him Lord Dad. So that was, I need to go back to that. So that was question 1. And then how did we meet?
So this will sort of play into one of the other questions, which is how long we've been married, which is, I think we're going on 16 years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, layered, that's right, Mark, layered. I've learned that as I was reading through what Scottish lordship meant. I'm actually a laird. But regardless, we met on a technology called MySpace, which I don't think exists anymore. So
nobody ever wants to believe us.
No. So I was bored one night and was randomly searching MySpace for the first time ever. I'd never done it before, of course.
It's true. He really doesn't like social media at all.
No,
He's not.
I have no social media whatsoever. So I was searching around on MySpace and I came across her profile, which said she was from a town called Frostproof in Florida. She was living in California, as was I at the time. And the name didn't even make sense to me. And so I sent her a message saying something like, okay, where are you really from? Frostproof clearly does not exist. And that sparked a conversation, and we talked for, I don't know, a week or two on MySpace, and then we met in person, and I think we were married 5 months later.
Yeah, it was like really close. Like all of it was all kind of together. But like I feel like when we met though, it was kind of, even when we were talking, like we just meshed really well. Like everything we wanted in life, and you know, other things that are important that you kind of want to be on the same level without getting into like, you know, politics or religion or any of that stuff. It all kind of lined up, everything that we wanted. So.
Yeah, just sort of, you know. So I think we were probably engaged 3 months after meeting, and then we got married 2 months after that. And we've been married, I guess, almost 16 years. So it worked out quite well for us.
Yeah, so that's like how long have we been married? So
yeah, that's the other question.
Going in on 16 years. Next year, in August, will be 16 years. So yeah, and it's worked out well. Like I don't think many people probably thought it would, but
yeah, I can tell you. Well, yes, my grandmother who's raised me, she did not think it would work out. She was also a horrible person. So. Yeah, no, it's been great. It was sort of for me at least, it was, you know, you meet someone and you know, and I think hopefully it was for the same for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, see, that's right, Karen. Right, you met your husband in April, got married 2 months later in 22 years. That's awesome. Also, so Terry, I do like Lord of the Threads. That may be a good one to go up. So Connie just asked, you grew up in CA, how did you end up in SO? So,
oh my gosh, we're a mess on where we lived.
I grew up all over the place. I've lived in, I don't know, 10 or 12 different countries, and I couldn't tell you how many different states I've lived in. We met after I got out of the Marines, and I was living in California at the time with a friend of mine, probably one of my best friends from high school. And Fallon is from Minnesota, and she grew up in Minnesota and Florida, and then after college she moved to California and was working there. And we lived probably about an hour away from each other.
Yeah.
We were living sort of in central California, like in the San Luis Obispo area. And so we met there. After we got married, we ended up moving back to Florida. And I worked in Florida for a couple of years and got into law school. So we moved to Michigan, which is where I went to University of Michigan, not Michigan State. I don't even know if they have a law school. If they do, I'm sure it's not very good.
And our kids were 3 and 4 at that time?
Yeah, I think so. I think our kids were either 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 when we went through law school. So
that was fun.
It was. So we lived in Ann Arbor for a couple of years, and we bought a house in Grosse Pointe Farms, which is where we lived after law school, because I worked in downtown Detroit. And then in 2016, we moved to Texas for work. Yeah, that's right, Renee. We moved to Texas for work, and we've been in Texas since then.
But not in the same
No, so we've lived in a couple of places. We live in the middle of nowhere right now. Small town that is really cool because the town itself is actually the
neighborhood.
Yeah, so it's a gated, guarded community that itself is its own self-sustaining town. We only have private roads.
Oh, I love St. Clair Shores, Karen.
What is this Go Green stuff, Karen?
We're going to overlook that because...
I love St. Clair Shores. We used to go to St. Clair Shores. There's a park right on, Lake Shore turns into... I don't remember what Lake Shore turns into, but there's a cool state park.
And their little deli. Isn't that where the deli is that we used to go to?
No, Harry's is in... Is Harry's in St. Clair Shores or is it Grosse Pointe?
I don't know.
Park. I don't know. But Karen, there is a deli called Harry's Deli on Mack Avenue. I think it's in Grosse Pointe Park, but it may be in St. Clair Shores. You should go there. It is the best deli.
I thought it was on Lake Shore.
No.
Is it not on Lake Shore?
No, Harry's...
Oh, we're way off.
So anyway, so we ended up in Texas because of my work, and that's how we ended up here. We would love to still be in the Midwest.
Oh, that's a whirlwind too, Annette.
Her
husband on
Thanksgiving, we married him on New Year's. 44 years, that's amazing.
If you know, you know. Okay, so where were we at? Where we were moving.
That's why or that's how we ended up in Texas.
Okay, so how old are your children?
So daughter is 14, son is 13. And they are your typical teenagers. So good luck if you have teenagers. Good luck if you're going to have them soon. No, they're great kids. It's, teenagers are teenagers, right? So, but yesterday was great. I actually expected them to fight a lot more about who's opening what and when, but they were actually very cooperative when they were opening their gifts. And they wanted to spend time with us pretty much all day.
I was so surprised. We got this new, almost every Christmas Eve, we get either new board games or something because we love playing board games and card games. So every Christmas Eve, we usually open up something like that we can do together. And they loved one of the games we got so much that we played it a lot yesterday. So that was fun because I thought they were going to kind of get their stuff and go play with their stuff.
Yeah.
And actually this morning our daughter was asking if we could play that game right away.
Oh, good. Oh, that's right. I saw that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, so it is in St. Clair Shores. It is the greatest deli I have ever been to, and Harry is a gem of a man. Mm-hmm. Or was. I think it's now run by his nephew, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know why I question, because you remember stuff so much better than I do.
Oh, seems like okay, so what do we have next?
Are your kids interested in quilting? No.
Yes, Judy, we only have 2 children. We will only ever have 2 children. Not to get into too much detail, the first pregnancy was rough. The second pregnancy was a planned C-section, but the aftercare stuff after the pregnancy was rough. So we sort of figured no reason to chance trying a third child. And now that our kids will be out of the house and graduated in 4 or 5 years, I am looking forward to retirement, and I do not
golf. Finally being able to golf.
Yeah, I don't want to start over again. So Pat, the game that we bought and have been playing is called Play 9. It's a card game, but it's sort of centered on golf, and it's a strategy game, but it's really fun. It's an easy game to play. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. But even young kids could play. They may not fully understand, but they'd still have fun.
It's really easy to understand. It's basically matching. So as long as the child can match, I mean, the strategy part might be harder, but the matching is really easy. Some other games that we love, though, is Settlers of Catan. Love playing that game.
We like Pictionary. We play Pictionary quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's a game called Eye to Eye that we like.
We have so many. We have a whole cabinet that's floor to ceiling, pretty much, that is stuffed full of games. That train game, I love that.
Oh, Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
is another one. Carcassonne is another one. A lot of these games were originally developed in Germany because I forgot his name, Hans something or other, but he has Hans Kluber, I think that's his name. He developed really good games, and it's okay, Deidre. Welcome to the show. So we really like his games, and so we try to buy those. But generally, we play Clue quite a lot. We really enjoy going. We enjoy going to escape rooms as a family. Those are fun.
Yeah, we went to so many that the owner at one of them noticed that we were going to all of the rooms and asked us if we wanted to test rooms for him.
No, I have not played Labyrinth. Connie, we'll have to look into that though, because I love games. Where do you? Okay, so here's a question you should answer from Handmade.
Oh, that's Donna. Donna.
Okay. Where do you see your channel in a year? What plans do you have ahead? So I know she has a bunch of plans. I don't know if she's ready to divulge them yet. It's up to you. They may not be fully formed.
The big picture for my channel is I would like to try to keep going with what I've been doing, just kind of getting better at making my tutorials more concise and stuff like that, because I love, and I know all of you who've been following me for a while know I love to talk and ramble. So I would just like to keep moving forward with what I'm doing. I really enjoy doing tutorials, and I know a lot of people ask me to keep doing more of the quilt-alongs, where I did the one with the 9-patch and the snowball. So I have some more like that planned. I really have a ton of plans for the new year, but one thing I really want to focus on, see, like I like to ramble. One thing I really want to focus on is trying to keep my channel where everybody feels comfortable, because so many people in the comments have said that when I'm doing my tutorials, they feel like they're in the room sewing with me, and I really like that people feel that way, because that's kind of how I wanted my channel to be, where people feel comfortable coming here. And yeah, so that was a good question, Donna. I don't know. Hopefully I answered it enough for you, because
yeah, I think there's just some things that are probably meant to be surprises that will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away what I have plans. I really like, because we've been talking about it for a while. When I started doing the Jenny's unboxing this month, I felt like I came up with a really good idea for next year for the Advent unboxing. So I'm really looking forward to that, even though that is a long ways away.
All right, hey Kay, you haven't missed much, just me rambling on about random stuff.
Yeah,
so
we both like to talk.
So we did. How old are your children? Are your kids? Oh, so are our children interested in quilting?
I think they're interested in getting quilts from me, but not so much the part of making them. My son does not really like art well, I don't want to say he doesn't like art, because he likes paint, like he really loves paintings and that kind of stuff, but he doesn't like to actually do the art side of it.
Yeah. He's
you. Like, with the analytical side, like
he's very analytical
and logical.
His idea of creativity is trying to figure out how to build something, or how to take it apart, or how to figure out how to do some sort of program that can fix stuff. So he's not really into the traditional art stuff. Our daughter, I think she would be interested in quilting if she had more time.
Yeah, she is very into art. She likes, I think she likes stuff that she can finish in a day, because she likes to see the item finished. She is very crafty. She likes making jewelry a lot. And she has sewed pillows and things, so she knows how to sew. I think she's just likes things that are completed quickly.
Yeah, our daughter is a very high-level soccer player, and she does that more or less, I think, every day of the week.
Yeah.
But we have a full-size goal in our backyard and an 18-yard box, so she can practice penalty kicks and passing and all that sort of stuff. Both of our children are homeschooled, and so they, technically they go to a private school, but they do it online. So they have teachers, so we can be generally hands off, like we can help them if they have problems, but they have teachers and things that they can go to. So because of that in Texas, because they're homeschooled, they have a lot more flexibility in their schedule. So our daughter wanted to get a job to make money, to do whatever she wants with. So she has a job that she works about 20 hours a week. She goes to school full time and she plays soccer every day of the week. So if she had more time, I think she would love to do other crafts, but she's in charge of her schedule. She doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to play soccer, but she chooses to, which makes us happy.
Yeah, she did all that on her own, like finding where she can work, filled out the application, did all that. So.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. She said, "Can I get a job?" We said yes, and so she did. What was your first video about, babe?
So when I started my channel, it was actually about, I think, chalk couture. I was doing that. I had just pulled the kids out of public school because it wasn't working out here. And I had planned to go back to work. So at that time, our kids were younger and I actually was homeschooling them. Like I did all of their, lesson plans. We had books and all like a whole room full of homeschool stuff that I had to plan out all the time. And I really wanted something for me. And I saw this Chalk Couture thing, which is a direct sales company. And I was like, oh, I love creating things. So I thought that would be fun to kind of have something for me. But you are limited to, their templates and all this stuff. So my first video on YouTube was doing that, I believe, some project from that I shared. And then I eventually was like this kind of, I wanted to be able to be more creative in what I chose to do. The company was a little more strict on what you were allowed to post and record. So I made a quilt again that year, that Christmas quilt, the one with the stockings that's out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I could start showing how to make a quilt. And so my channel shifted from that to quilting. So I actually don't remember what my first video involving quilting was. I'll have to go back and look because that's a good question, but I don't know.
How did you get interested in quilting?
So my mom had some quilt tops and I shared one of them on the channel that she sent me. That she had started. They were from, I think, the 70s or 80s, she had said. And it was just the tops. She had two of them that had been folded up in her closet forever. And I would just go in there and I thought they were so pretty and would look at all the little tiny pieces of fabric on it and thought I wanted to make something like that. And so my mom got me all the stuff and I started making quilts. And when I was a teenager, I made a ton of quilts. My brother has some, my sister has some. I have jean quilt that I made back then. And I didn't finish that until we were in Michigan, I think, that one jean quilt. Yeah, but it kind of started from that, just seeing what my mom had. And she was always really good about getting me everything that I wanted in the art realm of things. Like she would get me stuff to do stained glass because I saw something like that I thought was interesting. I have some of those pieces too that I made, the stained glass. But yeah, I was always liked art. I was making jewelry, all kinds of stuff. And I think painting, I have some paintings up that I did. But quilting has always been my favorite because, I don't know why. Maybe because you can stay warm with the quilts, and I don't know, it's kind of like more hands-on and, I don't really like decorative stuff on the walls, so clutter.
Yeah, we don't really like clutter.
Even though every space in our house is cluttered.
It's true. The next question, what type of law, what type of law do I practice? I am what's known as a litigator, which literally just means that I do trial type work. So what I focus mostly on is financial based fraud. So situations where, so almost everything I do is either with large multinational companies or very rich individuals where there are hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. So I don't do a lot of, if someone robs your bank of $5,000, that's not something I get involved with. I recently had a case that I won that is I think is still the largest. It was like a $4 billion case. It's the largest win of this type of case in U.S. history. That was back in August, maybe. I'm handling another case right now, or it's really 60 different cases that are all part of the same bankruptcy. It's fraud that arose out of a bankruptcy. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars involved in that one. So most of what I do is like I said, financial-based fraud on very large scales. But as a litigator, that just means that I can do anything that will ultimately involve a court. So I've done cases that involve intellectual property fraud. Several years ago, I represented Ford in a case where a third party stole Ford's online vehicle configurator. So they sued the company that stole their technology. I've dealt with franchise agreements. There was a 7-Eleven franchisor who had 10 different franchises and he wanted to get out of his franchise. That sort of stuff. Like I said, mostly it's financial fraud. It's really boring. I hate being a lawyer. It sucks. The work isn't bad. It's just having to deal with other attorneys. Attorneys are the most despicable, horrible people on the planet. And they're very difficult to get along with. So
I love it, though, because I love true crime. And I listen to a whole bunch of true crime podcasts, and whenever I have questions about stuff, he does not enjoy it because that's what he does all day. Like, not crime stuff per se, like I listen to, but I always ask him like why this happened or why that doesn't happen, and can actually get an answer. So I love that part. Let's see. I feel like I missed something. I saw something pop up.
Someone wanted to know what the most romantic thing I've ever done for you is. So, Connie, let me just preface this by saying I am far from perfect and much more flawed than perfect. I don't know that I have a romantic bone in my body. So
I wouldn't like that anyway. Like I don't know. I guess that's why we work out really well, though, because I'm horrible with remembering dates. So we actually picked our anniversary based around numbers that we would remember, because that is not who we are at all. I know that doesn't sound fun, but I mean, it works. That's how we like.
Yeah, so my wife's favorite number is 88, or really any variation of the number 8. So we chose to get married on August 8th because my wife would be able to remember 88. And to be fair, I remember too. I'm very good with memory and numbers. I studied math in college, so I'm a big fan of numbers. But despite having our anniversary on August 8th, I think we have collectively missed 3 or 4 anniversaries because we both just forgot it.
I think the only holiday we really like is Christmas, like decorating for that and all that. We don't do Valentine's Day. We don't really do our birthdays. We do for the kids.
Yes.
But
as family, like for Thanksgiving, we've done, most of our family lives nowhere like within a reasonable distance of us. So we don't, and because of my work schedule, I just don't have the ability to really travel around the holidays because I can't take 4 or 5 days off. So we typically spend Thanksgiving at home, and we've tried to do the, hey, let's make a big deal, but when you only have...
Oh, that's cool. So, Terry.
Yeah. When you only have 4 people, and our daughter is the pickiest eater on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
She won't eat anything with sauce or flavor or pretty much anything.
But oddly loves like every vegetable that.
Yeah, she'll eat any vegetable, but you can't use
artichokes, broccoli, like.
So Thanksgiving just becomes more of a hassle. You spend $200 on groceries and you don't actually use but half of it, not even that much. We've tried going out to, there's a couple of restaurants that have Thanksgiving specials. We've done that a couple of times, and almost always it fails to impress. So Thanksgiving is just sort of another Thursday in the middle of the week for us, and none of the other holidays. I'm a veteran. I hate fireworks. I can't stand them. They annoy me for many different reasons. So 4th of July is no longer an enjoyable holiday. Neither is New Year's Eve. For the same reason.
Well, we don't even. I would never stay up that late. Yeah. You're a night owl, but I'm not.
So Christmas is our favorite holiday, much more so than our anniversary, because like I said, we've forgotten it many times.
I think that would probably be, like, if we're trying to come up with the most romantic thing, you're very, very good at giving gifts. Like, he will remember the most random thing I said about something that I might like, and it'll end up being purchased for me for Christmas. Like
that's just because I have a good memory. That has nothing to do about romance.
Well, I mean, I think that's my answer. He's really good at giving gifts because he listens to me. That, I think we can all agree, is a very romantic quality, that you listen. Oh, I think we missed more because questions pop up there too. And I don't remember.
I think we're generally good. Barb loves true crime. So I will say, my wife loves true crime, and it's not my cup of tea, but there's so many funny things that come out of true crime because we'll be driving from. That's a good story, Pedra, and we'll get there in a minute. But we'll be driving across, down the road. Like I said, we sort of live in a rural area, so you'll see random crap on the side of the road all the time. So it may be, a bag of a very large bag that looks like it's probably leaves, and my wife's like, "Ooh, I wonder who was murdered." Or we live on a river, and my wife was walking down by the river. Wednesday earlier this week?
Hunter, yeah.
And I don't know how it got there, but evidently there was like a worn, used Pizza Hut t-shirt, and my wife touched it, and she came back and was all nervous because she's like, "I got DNA over murder evidence." I was like,
to be fair, nobody ever walks down there. I'm pretty much the only person that walks down around that path. And so my son's lately, since it's cooled off, has been wanting to go for walks, and we'll just chat and, go for this mile-long loop. And there's like this balled up thing on the ground that looked like that it might be a shirt, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't anything. I don't know why, because I have problems, but so I was kicking it to get it to open up. And then I was like, oh, that's weird that it's a Domino shirt. And then that's where my head went, was like, oh no, is my DNA all over this shirt? And did something happen to someone? But I don't know why it would have been down there.
Who knows? So go ahead and explain. Now, mind you, I will dispute this version of events until the day I die. Go ahead and explain how you think I proposed.
So we had actually moved in together. We had a little condo.
Yeah, it was a condo. I think that's probably right.
Yeah. So we had already moved in together, and so I do need to tell that story too about the ring, because everybody loves my ring. I don't normally wear my wedding set in videos because it flips around and annoys me when I'm trying to sew. But so when he proposed, I kind of knew it was coming at some point. I just didn't know when. And we were sitting just watching TV, and I was like laying kind of on him. And all of a sudden I was like, "Are you okay?" Because his heart was raced. Like I could feel it beating through his chest. And I was like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" We weren't watching anything that was scary. So then he just like pulled out the rings and was like, "Will you marry me?" And I was like, "Why were you so scared to ask that?"
She claims I was scared. I maintain I was cool as a cucumber and was very Humphrey Bogart-ish and did it in a very, very romantic way. She insists I was about to have a heart attack. So
you were definitely about.
But yeah, it was nothing. Again, I'm not romantic, so it was nothing grand. We were literally sitting on a TV at 8:30 at night watching, I don't know, an episode of Friends. Who knows? And yeah, I took the ring out of my pocket and I asked her to marry me, and she said yes.
After making sure you were okay.
Yeah, she checked my pulse. Got me a wet towel for my head. No, I was fine. She claims I was nervous, but I maintain I was not.
But that kind of, with it not being a crazy elaborate thing, I know that's really big right now where people do these extravagant proposals and everything. But he did put a lot of effort into my ring, which I would be devastated if it got lost because you designed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we designed the ring, worked with a ring maker, and used some of all of the gems, all of the diamonds in her ring came from other jewelry that was in my family. So it was a really cool design, I think, and it was fun to do. So yeah, that's the story of how we got engaged, and but to give you an example of how we're not extravagant in general, I think there's 6 people at our wedding, and we did it in a public park in Santa Barbara because.
And we only did it that way because you had to in that area.
Yeah, you had to have some sort of actual ceremony. You couldn't just go to a JOP, and I don't remember what the reason was, but so yeah, we hired a guy for $100, went to a public park, had the quote unquote ceremony, and it took all of 15 minutes, and then we didn't go to a Denny's, but we went out to some restaurant and had food, and then we went on our honeymoon. But yeah, it was very. I think the only reason we had people there is because we needed witnesses. Otherwise, we just would have been us. So.
Yeah, my dress was just white,
I know we just went to Nordstrom.
Yeah, a white, any day type of dress.
Yeah, I was in Dockers and a button-down shirt. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. It was nice though.
It was a great day. Weather was great.
We had money to do stuff later because we
can spend $50,000 on a wedding.
But that's just, I don't know. Lorelai may want something because she may want something big and fancy. It just depends on who you are. You know what works for you. But that was a funny story too with our honeymoon thing because we went on a whale watching tour and he was so upset with himself because it was cold out there and I had just like a short sleeve shirt on. I don't think I had pants on either.
No, so it was not supposed to be cold that day. It was like a warm sunny day in August, and we went whale watching, and it ended up just being like
the temperature dropped so fast,
30-mile-an-hour winds. And she's sitting there freezing, and I am sitting there freezing. And one of the guys from the boat comes up to her and looks at me in disgust. And he's like, "Do you need a jacket, ma'am?" And then he goes and gives her a jacket and just stares at me like it's my fault, but I didn't know it was going to be freezing. Made me feel very bad. But,
I thought it was funny.
Yeah. So, what do we got here? What type of...
Oh, that's your law.
What is this one here?
If I do any bag or purse tutorials. So this is kind of interesting and would go back to what you do a little bit with law. A lot of bag designers have disclaimers on their patterns asking you not to do tutorials on them. So I have done a few bag and purse tutorials, but I kind of limit them because I don't want to, I don't want to put out a tutorial that the designer asked us not to to put out. And I think I asked you about it too, if I would be able to. But you know, I try to respect that. A lot of the bag patterns I like to do are from a particular designer who asks not to have the tutorials done. So I just respect that. But I do have a few out there, and I can try to remember to put them in the comments later. So if you are interested in making bags, I do have a few that have allowed me to do tutorials.
So Terry, I see that, and again, it's, you know, it happened and you've moved on, but I think it's such a shame when people are forced into ceremonies that they don't want just to please others. And I get it, right? It happens all the time. So we've sort of, at least with our kids, they can do whatever they want. You know, if our daughter wants a huge wedding, great. If she wants to elope, great. But I think it's, you know, I think people need to let those who are getting married have what they want, as opposed to doing the social gathering that the parents want.
Yeah, we are not perfect parents by any means.
Not perfect anything.
But
maybe you were. No.
But I think one thing I feel confident about with our kids is that they are very comfortable speaking their minds, whether we like it or not. So we will definitely know what they want when it comes to that. So yeah, and I think we're both good with, you know, whichever way they want to go with that.
Yeah. So who's your favorite bag designer?
So Pat, for bag designing, I love Lavender and Twine's bags. They are constructed so beautifully. They come together really nicely, and they look very, very professional and designer. I absolutely love her patterns. I think the reason that she doesn't want people to do tutorials on her bags is because when you purchase her pattern, she has links to all the steps where she has a walkthrough video. So that's, I mean, I completely respect her choice for that. It just, for me, I want to only do, if I'm going to do a tutorial, it's going to be on a bag that I really, really love, because they take a lot more time to do than quilting. So, because there's more steps to it. So I'm going to respect her wishes and not do a tutorial on that.
That's fair. And I mean, legally, I don't actually think, right? I mean, just from a legal perspective, I don't think a bag designer can tell you that you can't make a video. There's no real protectable interest that they have in you. I could go down a chain of legal theories that could say they could, but really they can't. But just because you can, and I tell this to my clients all the time, just because you can do something does not mean that you should, whether it's legal or not. So, you know, she chooses, in my opinion, the right decision not to do anything that the designer doesn't want. I think that's the right way to go about it. So let's see, what do we have? Whoa. Oh, what is something that, go ahead.
So this just popped into my head. So because of this, like how we got here, I have been wanting to have him on my channel where we discuss like different legal things that have to kind of do with the quilting and sewing industry, because there are a couple, you know, a lot of people have questions about what is it, trademarked fabric, and what you can do with that and things. So if you guys would ever be interested in anything like that, let us know in the comments, because it is kind of a series that I would like to try and do at some point, talking about, and there are actually like cases out there about quilting that I think are really interesting. So yeah.
It's true.
If it would be something you would be interested in seeing in a video, let us know.
So one of the questions is, what is something a quilter can make her husband? And so there's a couple things that came to mind. One is, we have these, they're technically like Italian soup bowls. or pasta bowls rather, but you can put soup in them. And I pretty much use them for everything because I am a messy eater, and having a plate means stuff gets everywhere. So having, you know, a little lip on the bowl is great. So I do a lot of eating out of those, but I like, because I work from home, I like to make my food fresh. And so a lot of times the bowl gets really hot because whatever I put in there is hot. And so my wife made these bowl cozies basically that the bowl sits in, so that your hands don't ever get hot holding the bowl, because the kitchen is, you know, I've got to walk a little while to get to the kitchen before I get back to my office. My hands get burnt. So those were really cool. I think coasters are great. You can always have coasters for things because I don't like ruining my desks. My wife made me a Michigan-themed quilt, which is what she's sit in the back of the chair. So I think making a quilt that represents something from your husband's past or something that he enjoys. I think you're at some point working on a quilt with some of my old uniforms, right?
Yeah, I would like to. I just haven't found the perfect idea or come up with the perfect idea for your uniforms. But
yeah, well, and you know, I think the Quilting Marines quilt that he did out of his uniforms is so good. That it's sort of, you know, you see something like that and it's like, well, shit, what do I do now? Because his was really good and I loved his.
Yeah.
So something like that, right? I mean, I know there's people that make t-shirt quilts out of, you know, husband's old band t-shirts, things like that.
Those are so much work.
They very well may be, so I think things like that. Trying to think of what else.
I know one you've been asking me for a while.
So I have, this is my actual office in our house. It's a separate office. I've got my own locking door on it. But the door has a glass panel in it. And I would love for my wife to quilt a panel to go over the glass. Mostly because our dog, who I love, loves to come up to my door and put his nose up against the glass and look at me with pouty eyes because he wants to be touched and pet. Which I'm happy to let him come in here, but then I'm playing with him for 30 minutes and not working. So it makes it very difficult for me to get work done. So I would prefer to have something there so he can't stare at me and make me feel badly about not petting him. So that's something. Other things my wife has made me that I really like, not so much quilting. She's made me, she does a lot of leather work when she makes her bags and such. So she's made me a wallet out of leather that was really nice.
Oh, and that like for your cards,
like a business card holder.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of options out there. Like I said, the leather work isn't really quilting, but it is cool. And I enjoyed it. So. Let's see.
Oh, how I stay organized with all the subscription boxes I get and all the stuff coming in. So keep in mind, you only see a very small part of my sewing space upstairs. So one day I should do kind of like a walkthrough of exactly how crazy it can get up there sometimes. But one thing I do whenever I get the stuff from those boxes is I put the stuff that I know I'm going to use away. And then I have a space where I have boxes that I put stuff that I would like to either do for a giveaway at some point, or one of my friends recently started sewing. So I sent her a few of the kits and stuff that I had extras of so that she could use that to kind of get started and learn how to sew. So, I guess one of the big things I do is whenever I get the stuff, open it up, I divide it out into stuff that I know for sure I'm going to use and keep. And then I have an area in my room for stuff that I know I'm going to give away at some point, whether it's a giveaway or to a friend.
Yeah, what you guys don't see on camera is your studio upstairs is like 500 square feet.
Yeah, it's really big.
There's a lot of built-in storage, and we have a walkout attic that is huge, and I don't know that you use any stuff to store in there. Maybe you do. But there's probably another 1,000. There may actually be more than 1,000 square feet of usable space in the attic. So a lot of it is just having space to be organized, but she has I don't know if it's a journal, but like a planning book that she has all of her stuff planned out in. She spends, so obviously I work all day in the office, but I see her, and what she's doing. You probably spend a couple hours a day just organizing and planning, and I would think that the filming and editing, well, maybe not the editing part, but the filming part is probably the least amount of time in your day. Most of your time is spent drawing up ideas, planning it out, figuring out what you need to do, and sort of going through all of those processes. So I think it's planning, proper planning leads to, I don't know, proper execution. I don't know what the word is, or the phrase, but so that also sort of feeds into how do you get it all done. So it amazes me to this day that my wife is able to get done everything she does because, like I said, our daughter plays soccer almost every day, and my wife is unfortunately the one that typically takes her to practice because I'm still working when practice is going on. Practice is like an hour away because we live in the middle of nowhere. And when you play competitive soccer, there are some people that, the nearest high-level team for them is 2 hours away, right? So she spends, 2 hours a day driving back and forth to soccer practice. She stays at the practice because there's no reason to leave a 2.5-hour practice just to come back. So, she spends maybe 4 hours a day at soccer, and she's doing everything else. She makes, meals for the kids during the day because I'm working and I can't. Sometimes she'll make me meals, and she's getting all her work done. So I don't know how she does it. I think she has a device that stops time where she can just pause it and take 4 hours to get stuff done and then come back to reality.
So I think what I always joke that I'm not organized, but I think what I'm really good at is time management. So usually the planner he's talking about, what I usually do is I don't like to plan out what I am going to do each day per se. I like to take a look at what I want to get done for the week, and I try to divide it out into what I know I can get done in the morning, what I know I can get done in the afternoon, and what I know I can get done in the evening. So my day typically looks like I get up and I always go for a walk. I've talked about it before on the channel, but I have a lot of anxiety. And if I go for a walk, usually when I start my day like that, I have a better day. So that is always on my schedule. And then I will make myself breakfast, and usually everyone else is still asleep. So that's when I edit. Because it's quiet and I can get that done a lot easier. Then I make sure the kids start doing their school, or if I have to take my daughter to, work or anything like that. I usually know before the week starts what all that looks like so that I know what I can get done in the afternoon, which is usually hopefully filming. And I have that all planned out. I write down what shots I need to get. That sounds bad, shots. I plan out what actually needs to be recorded, what I want to say, so that I can get it done really easily. That all gets planned out when I'm at my daughter's practice. I will jot down what I want to film and all of that. So everything that I have to do throughout the day, I usually try to look at what I can get done at those places. So instead of just sitting at practice, not at my daughter's soccer practice, not getting anything done, I try to figure out what I can get done for my channel there. The weekends, so the person also asked how I spend time with you and the kids during all that, is usually on the weekends I don't do much with my channel unless I'm up early and I'll answer, I'll reply to comments and things like that. But when everybody gets up, we're usually doing, playing games or going somewhere or things like that. So, I don't know. That probably wasn't helpful at all in how I get it all done. But I think it's just a lot of time management and knowing what I want to get done for the week and making time for it. My son and I both love going to movies. So twice a month I try to plan that out. And that takes out a big chunk of the day too. So it's really making sure I have everything planned out, really. I don't know. Maybe I do stop time and not know it.
I think you do.
Okay, somebody asked about cutting, and I don't know if it was the same that asked in a different post, but I did bring one of my rulers down, and I didn't bring yardage because it may not have been the same question, but let me see if I can switch the camera. So when I cut fabric, so the person asked if I line up on the inside of the line for cutting or on the outside. I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about. I honestly think that is personal preference because it's such a minute difference between each side of the line. I feel like as long as you're consistent on whether you choose to have your fabric line up at the front or the back, for a pattern, I don't think it would make that big of a difference if you choose either side, as long as you're consistent with that each time, if that makes sense. I always line up at the front of the line. So right when I see the black line get to the edge of my fabric, that's where I like to line it up. And I do that all the time. If you choose to line up on the other side, I would say just make sure you do that all the time as well. I also try to, like if I'm using this brand of ruler to cut stuff, I try to use that same one all the time because I have different sizes of it. Some people say that there's a difference, like 1 inch on one can be different from the other. I have never noticed much of a difference when I've used different brands, but because I read that and it's stuck in my head, I tried to use the same brand, but you know, I don't know. I haven't seen a big difference, but I think as long as you're consistent with how you line up the fabric to the line, I think you should be fine. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think, you know, is she wanting to know to square up yardage? I can try and do a video showing that on another day.
Yeah, so Anita, why don't you send my wife an email or a private message or whatever you're able to do with exactly what you want to know, and maybe she can put together a video for you. Because it sounds like it may be a good video to do.
Yeah, and let me see. I'm going to see if I can screenshot it.
Someone asked, I think it was you, Deidre, what my MOS was. So I had a handful of MOSs. My primary was 0321, and then I had secondaries of 8654 and I believe 8541. So those were, I know the Marine Corps has changed since I was in, and I believe the 8541 secondary MOS has now become a primary MOS. Which may not mean a lot to most of you, but either way, so 0321, 8654, and 8541, I believe. I may be off because it's been a while. But those were my MOSs.
I think, I changed where all the questions were.
Okay.
So the beeswax.
The beeswax. So
I'm going to flip it back down.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's making you guys dizzy.
This is the greatest stuff on the planet, in my opinion. Now, mind you, I don't know what I'm talking about, so take that with a grain of salt. But the beeswax thread conditioner made my life so much easier when I was making that tree, which I'm told is no longer a redworth tree because I didn't use red thread, which I think is really weird. That seems that it should, whatever. It is what it is. But this stuff is great, and I guess my wife will show you how to use it.
So someone had asked how to use the beeswax thread conditioner and if it needs to be placed in something to use. So I'm not going to keep it in anything except for the bag it came in. You don't really need to place it in anything to use it. Just know that if you're taking it with you somewhere, I like to sometimes bring some of my handwork stuff. Like if my daughter's going to soccer practice or something, that it can melt. It's beeswax, so it can melt. So don't just throw it in your sewing bag if you're going to be somewhere hot. It gets so hot here in Texas, so it could melt. But I just have been leaving it in the bag. So to use it, you're just going to pull the thread through the wax. I just place my thumb over it and pull it through. Now this doesn't sink in like it does in some other ones, so I usually go over it a few times, and you can kind of feel the thread, like the way it feels change. You can kind of feel a coating on it. Now there are different types of thread conditioners than the beeswax. The first one I purchased was this Thread Magic, and after using the beeswax one, I don't like this one as much because it feels really gooey. And that's probably not the best explanation for it, but feel the thread here.
Yeah.
So you can feel the wax kind of on it.
Yeah.
So when you put this through here, it's kind of nice because the thread can sink into it and it has these grooves along here and you just pull it through. But I don't know, I don't like the feel of that as much compared. Like it kind of feels slimy. Like it feels like chapstick on it, right?
It rubbed off on my fingers.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So it works really well. It works the same as the beeswax in that it sews so much better. I don't get as many knots or things like that, but after using the beeswax, I don't think I would buy any more of this because it just feels so much better on my hands. And then I have this Sew Fine that I got in one of my boxes. And it is almost exactly like the beeswax, but it's not as easy to use in here because your thread kind of runs across the edge of it. And you can't really get your thread down in there as easy. It does smell really nice though, because they scent them. So this one's grapefruit. So it smells really nice.
Oh, it does smell nice. It smells like grapefruit.
Yeah, but so there's different types out there. It would just depend on what you like, but they're really easy to use and it definitely makes a difference on the hand sewing.
Hey, someone asked what you would use it for. Like, when do you use this?
So I use it whenever I'm doing hand stitching. So if I'm going to quilt by hand, if I'm going to do embroidery, if you cross stitch, I would use it for anything like that. I never use it, to put my thread on my sewing machine or anything like that. It's just if I'm going to do any hand sewing. So hopefully that was helpful.
How do we get back to the questions, dude?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I think that was the last one. I think we got to them all. Unless there was some we missed in chat.
No, well, maybe. So it seems like we're out of questions, which is, we finally...
Well, we've been on for an hour. Oh my gosh, that time flew by.
It's not feeling that long. Is the wax... Yes, Marianne, it appears to be entirely beeswax.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any plastic or anything else in there.
Yeah, so what it sounded like the company does is they have a mold that they put the beeswax in that makes it in the shape of a spool. It's really cute too.
So we're happy to answer any additional questions. It's been an hour, so I apologize for intruding on your morning for that long. But if no one else has any other questions, I think we're good to go. But like I said, if anyone has any questions, ask them now so that we can address them. Otherwise...
Yeah, Kate, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, why do people not use blinkers, Kate? No one knows. They don't. They decide that they own the road and they can just cut you off without using the blinker. It's same premise here. No one knows why. They put it in a little container that makes it very difficult to use.
Was there any other ones?
Let's see. What would you use? No, I think we addressed.
If we did miss your question, you had one, I apologize. I will try to go back in and look, or you could send me an email and ask, and I try to get back to comments as well and answer people. Sometimes it gets hard, but I try to reply to everyone when they're in the comments. The last couple days I haven't, because we've been doing a lot of family stuff, so I apologize, because I really try to respond to comments, because I appreciate each and every one of you who take time to watch my videos and leave a comment. And
did you, I shouldn't have answered this, but have you shared with them your new email address?
I have not.
Are you going to? I assume you are.
No, I have one that I still check that's in there. I will update it. I can't remember what it is. Is it just Fallon at?
It's Fallon at sobeitquilts.com.
Okay. I have not noticed any of the, either of the products that I use, the Thread Magic or the beeswax, leaving a residue on fabric. Neither of it shows up on the thread, and I've never noticed it on the fabric after. It kind of, I mean, it's such a thin layer. I just don't like the feel of the Thread Magic. It never bothered me until I used the beeswax, though. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of gross.
Yeah, so, Karen, one thing I will say, so I've used the beeswax, this one here. This did not leave any residue on the project that I did, and it didn't leave anything on my fingers. I have never used the Thread Magic, but just now when my wife ran the thread through it and had me feel it, a lot of the Thread Magic rubbed off on my fingers. So I imagine, but it's essentially a pasty white, clearish feeling. So my guess is that it wouldn't stain or anything like that, but it was not fun to feel. Like I would get annoyed with doing that, because it would just get all over my fingers, and then I'd wipe my fingers on my shirt and be annoyed that I did that.
So the Thread Magic I used on a quilt that I've been hand quilting for over a year now. It's very slow going. And whenever I take it out, I don't see any staining where I've been sewing. So I don't think you'll have an issue with it if you choose to use the Thread Magic either. It just has a completely different feel. Somebody asked what was my next project. So I have a project that is coming up for January that I'm really excited about. It is a layer cake pattern that I designed. So it'll be a tutorial on that. Will probably be my next video. And then I'm going to have another one that's for beginner quilters in January as well. Yeah, I don't think it stains, the Thread Magic. I don't know. This one would be interesting. I know the beeswax would melt, but maybe the Thread Magic probably wouldn't, because whatever consistency that is would probably be safer to travel with.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been on for an hour. I appreciate all of you who stuck around, and you have shopping to do.
Yeah, I bought my wife a gift that she wanted a new table in her sewing room for filming and for things of that nature. She wanted a bigger one, so I bought her one and didn't realize that the tabletop itself weighs 200 pounds, and her studio is at the top of our house, and it's a very steep staircase. I can't carry a 200-pound 6-foot by 4-foot tabletop up to the room, so I've got to go buy some special straps that I can use to carry it up there. So I need to go to Lowe's, grab that, so we can set up your sewing room and get that all squared away.
Rebecca, I would love to do the book club again. I will probably put a post in that group asking people what book they would be interested in, but I want to do it a different format this time, because I feel like the chapters were spread out so much that a lot of people finished the book. So I would like to try to figure out a format where we can all kind of stay together reading it. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I am going to put a post in there and see what people might be interested in reading next, maybe a poll or something, because I love to read, so I'd love to do that again.
Okay, great. Well, it was great having all of you here and for letting us intrude into your day and listen to us ramble on about musings in our brains. Thank you all for coming. And if you have any other questions, just shoot an email to my wife. And
yeah, next time we'll do a live where you're sewing with we'll do a sewing.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and had a good Christmas yesterday. So Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.